Alrighty, so again, we're going to be building this UNS tank, nano tank, specifically for Neocaridina shrimp. I needed a small area underneath the shelf that I have. We'll show you later in the video where it's going to be placed after we build. But today, we're going to show, or right now, we're going to show you exactly what I do to create nano tanks specifically for Neocaridina shrimp. This one won't have any fish. The last build we did, I ended up adding some for my Caridina shrimp. This one's specifically just going to be a nano tank around Neocaridinas. It may have a filter, it may not. I haven't decided yet. It's going to come down to plants. I'm going to have a ton of plants anyways, just because that's what I like. This one is the UNS 45L. It is a 3.8 gallon, 17 in width, and in height we got 6.69 inches if we want to get very particular. I already picked out some wood. I've laid it out in here. Thinking of the design, I'm probably going to have some rock in here as well. But first and foremost, every single tank that we need to have is a perfect substrate, especially if we're going to have plants. So today what we have for our substrate, just like we did in our last video, I had some of this pond media here. Went through, sifted it out. Highly recommend sifting it out. If you're in the States, you can order that off of Amazon. And then I cut this bag upside down, so I apologize, but this is the fluorite black sand substrate. I really like this black sand substrate. I did it before when I created a tank for my Siloesi shrimp. It really made them pop. Since I'm doing orange sunkiss or pumpkin, a couple of names for those types of Neocaridina shrimp. I really want them to pop. My whole purpose of this tank is going to be for breeding. My local shop actually buys back shrimp, and I need to start separating them. If you haven't before, with Neocaridinas, if you start mixing them, you start getting traditional Neocaridinas. And I'll show you that in a later video in my larger 20-gallon tank, which is the biggest tank I have. I prefer nano tanks just because my area and setup. If I had a bigger area, I would love to do larger scapes. Hopefully that in the future comes to fruition. But for now, let's talk about the substrate. So let's go through and place this. I'm going to take out the wood and kind of the layout that I wanted it to have. And again, you don't have to start with that. That's just what I did specifically. I like to get everything formulated before I really start laying things out. But again, so substrate, we're going to need that sifted sand. Again, I already went through and sifted that. Sifted sand, sifted nutrient base. So again, that pond soil is great for creating a rich nutrients for your plants that you're going to have in here. I'm going to have some stems in the back, so I'm really going to focus the area over here. And then again, it's also good to add root tabs if you want it as well, just for that added nutrients. I do want to make sure, as you can see, it's more towards the back. Let me go and bring you in here. It's more towards the back. That's where I'm going to have the majority of my stem plants, and then bring it back down. Not so much in the foreground. I will have maybe some crypts. I haven't decided yet on my plant orientation. So we'll bring it a little bit forward. Again, being hyper aware of what we're going to be placing in our tank and how you're going to have this nutrients rich layer. Because what will happen is we're going to cap this down so that it does not enter the water column. We're going to cap it down with sand. Then we're going to go through and place our scape, and then we're going to place the plants as well. So let's go through and do that. So again, I already pre-washed it. I highly recommend whenever you're using this to put it in the camera area. Highly recommend if you're using this, the fluorite black sand, washing it. Even if, and the reason why I use this, some people are probably wondering why you're using that one compared to maybe some of the other ones that are buffers. For Neocaridinas, I don't want to buffer it, especially when I'm using the salts already for it, for when I'm using RODI water. So my tap water, I've had some issues in the past with some of my Neos. I live in the Great Grand Canyon state. We have really hard water, which typically has been okay for Neocaridina shrimp. But now I've been getting really into breeding them and making sure that they are doing really well. And I found the best way to do that, in my experience, is remineralize water. Hard to say, but yeah. So we're going to go through and do that when we fill this up. But first and foremost, we need to add the sand, and the sand is a non-buffering sand. So typically the salts bring it to a 7.6 pH, which helps maintain that water alkalinity and the items for that. But again, being aware that when you are creating these tanks, you want to create the most optimal environment for them, especially if you're breeding. If not, you still want an optimal environment, but it's a little bit more easier in terms of I want them to be breeding more frequently. So with that, again, we're going to add the substrate. I washed it again. Highly recommend washing it and pouring to the fronts first. And then going into the back.
And that's right.
And I missed the whole tank. I washed this outside and I let it sit. There's some coconut, like the filter that if any of you have hanging pots outside with plants, that coconut rind got into it a little bit. But we're going to cap this down. So let's see what that looks like. Again, the way this is set up is that it's going to go shorter side front, higher to the back. And now let's see the placement of how we want this to look. So keep in mind, I want the focal point to be the center and rocks and other items to come out as this bridges out. Now I had a couple of options. I had that mountain stone that I've had before. That I used in my other build. I think it's mountain stone. You'll see the name here pop up, but I couldn't find a great way with the amount that I had and the size that I had for this nano tank. It's probably one of the harder builds that I've done with wood and rock within a nano tank, just because the area and space. So again, I pre-planned this, I know, in terms of what I wanted to use for rock and laid it out. But I ended up crushing up some serious stone because I felt like that'd be a better color pop and natural look when you see the black sand, the wood that I'm using. So I went through and crushed a bunch of this up. as you see, I'm placing these rocks. I want to keep the focal point going towards the center. So I'm placing some of these serious stones smaller at an angle coming down. Placing some nice rock, small, in the front for that accent. And then building it up through this little canyon back here to add as if the wood was growing through this rocky area. Now, I was going to place some rock right in here, and let's show you from the top. There's a nice little hole right there, but I think I might leave that spot open for a nice Anubis or something in that nature. We'll see. Great thing about aquascaping is you can always, well, I guess before it's filled, move things around. Alrighty, so I attached a light. I wanted to make sure it fit. I know we haven't added any plants yet. I also added a rock over here. So thinking in thirds, I guess, is a rule. And there's not, I mean, everyone will have their opinion on how aquascaping works and how you should have thirds, all of those items. But I just want to make it kind of seamless. So there's a focal point here, but it's not attracting or detracting from the main focal point of this area here. And the main focal point isn't completely center in the bulkness of it. It's a little bit off to the side, but then you have a drastic drop down to give you some of that volume in that back. Yeah, back to the light. So I needed to make sure it fit because I had it on the back end and it came too far forward. And this is just I usually use Twin Star for most of my lights, but for a lot of my nano tanks, something at this small, I didn't want to purchase, I guess, that expensive of a light. So I'm trying this out. This is a Hager planted 24/7 aquarium light. I use the same one on my Caridina shrimp tank that I built. And it has Monte Carlo in it, the Cuba. It has reds that are still deep red. It has Rotala in it. And it's doing really well. We'll see how this one goes. I had to put a top on it, and I will have to where the area is, and I'll show you why after it's completely built. It is lowered to the ground. Most of us maybe have some feline friends, and they like to come into my office and drink my aquarium water. So since it'll be low, I don't want to have to worry about them being in here and where they're at and what they're doing. So we'll go through and put this lid on it. You can purchase it through UNS or Amazon. So I bought the tank at a local store, then purchased the lid on Amazon. Everything's on Amazon. I love it. But we'll continue onward. I just realized that I don't have any RDI water. So I will need to go to the store. So we'll be back in a bit. And we're back. Ended up getting some RODI water that we will add remineralizer. No, can't say it. But we'll add that. But right now, it's time to add some plants. right, that's it for now. All we have to do is add remineralized water. So again, substrate, then we went through and added, substrate, we also had nutrient space, so we added that pond soil as our nutrients for some of the stem plants in the back. And then even some of our front as well, we have the Cuba as well that's going to creep. And then we're going to add, and then we added our topping, so the sand, we added our rock and our stone. Well, rock, stone, same thing. And then we added our wood and then our plants. Now all we need to do is fill it up. I have and went and got RODI water, and these are going to be Caridina shrimp. So let me grab what I usually add. So for mine, I add this from Shrimp Mineral is what we'll be going through and adding. It is from Salty Shrimp. That's what I add to remineralize the water. We'll give it a couple days, and I'll probably add some more front plants. As you can see on the front end of this, there's a couple areas that could use some. But with me, I know most people have their tanks probably fully planted out. But for me, I add as I go some that I think may be good in some placements. So we'll see how this turns out. I'll fill this up. And this will complete this build. So we got it all planted. We have our nutrients base for the stem plants that are in the back, which you don't see yet, but they will grow out, and we'll send an update, show you an update on this. Then we capped it with some sand. Then we added our stone. Well, actually we added the wood first, and then we added our stone, then went through and added our plants. Looking forward to see how this turns out as it grows in. And as we add our shrimp specific to this tank, which is our Neocaridina, the orange sunkiss or pumpkin, folks like to call them. I'm going to add the RODI water next, and I use the Salty Shrimp Remineralizer. Hello everyone, we are at the 2-month mark now since I created the nano tank, shrimp tank space build for you all. So I'm excited. I got a new mic. It may sound a little bit different for this end cut of this video, but excited to show you what I have created so far for you all. And not just for you all, for myself. My office is super small, so I really specialize, well, not specialize, more in favor to the nano tank builds. But I'm excited to show you the end result 2 months later. I added some front area plants as well, so foreground plants, some crypts, some primavera crypts, which are very small. They're awesome to look at. But enough of me talking. Again, thank you for watching this video to the fullest extent. I wanted to create a small nano tank for my space below, but let's go through and take a look and see what that looks like, right? All right, so this is the build out. Now, 2 months later, got my orange sunkiss in there. There's actually some babies. If you tune into my Odyssey Instagram, so Aquascape Odyssey Instagram, you'll actually see some of the baby shrimp that I'll be posting for the orange Neo. Super excited. Orange Neo sunkiss Caridina shrimp. So super excited. Things that I've added. So right up here, I've added some Christmas moss. I prefer Christmas moss. Let me pinch these together right here. And then down here below is that Crypt Pavera. I love the grow out of those. I added some more moss on some rock here. I'm letting it grow out because I got a space that I want to go through and add into it. But that's pretty much all that I've added so far. I added some plants back here too, some additional stem plants. There's also floating plants as well. So again, just adding to the ability to take up a lot of the nutrients from inside the water column from the shrimp that I have. Again, this build out specifically, oh, and she's pregnant right there. A little update. Look at that. This tank was specifically built for the orange sunkiss so that I can breed them. Typically, and in the past, just so we're all aware again, I haven't really done the process of making sure water quality is optimal. As you saw in the beginning, I showed you those optimal parameters, and you can get away with it, right? You can totally have Neocaridina shrimp from your tap water with dechlor in it. That's what I've done in the past with prime dechlor, and I'll have a video out at some point of how you can keep them. I've always done that. That's how all my other tanks are set up. When I started to get into Caridina shrimp, I understood how much quality, the quality of the water impacted the shrimp and their ability to breed, more activeness, that type of nature. And in my other tanks where I did do the tap water dechlor, they've always been fine. But for this tank, I wanted to up my game a little bit, make it a little bit more higher tech from a water parameter perspective, just because I have the resources. If you do not have the resources, it is completely fine to use tap water with Neocaridina shrimp with dechlor. Again, I use the prime dechlor, and you can use that. You can use API has a dechlor as well. I think it's like the essential. I'll have to look it up again, but I'm sure you all could research that. I'll have another video out on that. But there are options, right? I just took this a little bit further, but for now, let's enjoy the finished build of this tank. Oh, one more thing. Please like, subscribe, comment if you have any questions. Also, check out my Instagram channel as well. My Instagram channel is Aquascape Odyssey, just like the YouTube channel. Again, please like and subscribe. Really helps. Let me know how you like this video as well. Until then, see you all next time on the next Odyssey journey.